Guys, welcome to the arcade. Thanks very much for hanging out with me today. And in today's video I wanted to pretty much show how the arcade has evolved in the last year, sort of the pickups and additions that we've made throughout the year. Now if we go back right to the start of 2022, that was when we knew that the new legacy machines were going to be coming out, Centipede, Pac-Mania and Mortal Kombat, and I was so excited when I saw the Mortal Kombat machine. That was definitely going to be my pickup at the start of the year, and then they came out with the prices, and for the Americans it wasn't so bad, but for us the price was starting to rise, and it wasn't something that I was able to put money towards at that time. So I decided no, I wasn't going to pick up any of the legacy machines, which turned out to be a good thing in the end because of all the controversy and bad press and everything else that the legacy machines got. However, I decided to go a different way at this stage, so I picked up my first Raspberry Pi and started tinkering. At this point I started off pretty simple. It started with a RetroPie RetroPie install. RetroPie being the most commonly used retro gaming platform, I would say, on the Raspberry Pi. So that was a good place to start off. Now I didn't use any of the pre-built images. I went off, I found the ROMs myself. I built it up from scratch, and then I hooked it into just the TV that used to sit up behind me, and the deck from the Legends Gamer Pro. And I tinkered around with that for a while, and it was great fun. It was really good. I was able to record footage of it straight to the PC. I love the idea of being able to do that. The ability that I had to hook up the gaming deck onto it was a great plus that I didn't really think was going to work. So I was really happy with that as an addition to the arcade. But then I decided I wanted to take it a little bit further. I wanted to build it into a cabinet itself, so I went out and sought a DIY flat pack solution, if you will. So found a couple of companies that were able to do it, had a chat with them, made a decision and ordered I think it was the 24-inch housing, but it was a bar top. My idea was going to be I build the bar top, and then if I wanted to, if I was happy, I could get the stand and everything that was going to come along and do it that way. And it was quite interesting building the bar top. It's more involved than any of the arcade one-up builds that I've done in the past. So there was definite learning experiences in there. You know, all the wiring had to be done for the control deck into the encoder board, but it was great to sort of to do that myself, wire up the sound, wire up the joysticks. And I did have a little bit of issues with the wiring, I won't lie. I did mess up a little bit and had to sort of go back a few steps and redo, but in the end I ended up with a pretty decent bar top. The screen is in there, the Raspberry Pi just moved it across, hooked it all in, everything is working really well. 2-player works brilliantly, and I'm very happy with it. It now sits sort of behind me, and I've got the favorites all set up to be, it's kind of like my side-scrolling beat-em-up cabinet. So I've got games like Punisher, the 2 Golden Axe games on there, various other side-scrolling beat-em-ups. I've also got the it's the 2-player machine ROM for Sunset Riders. So is where that would normally be either a 4-player machine or a 2-player machine. The 2-player machine allows you to select what character you want, whereas the 4-player machine was just you go to whichever character you wanted on the deck. So the 2-player ROM allows you to select, which is a fantastic little thing. So that's all in there, and it has done me really well. Now there is still a little bit of work to do. The panels still need to be painted and whatnot. It was something we were always going to do. My nephew was going to come around and sort of hand painted and things like that, but it was just one of those things that we hadn't got around to as yet. It's still on the books to do, but we will get to it at some stage. The machine itself is fantastic. Once the painting's all done, then we're going to put in a nice little bezel and a marquee and things like that, and pretty much call it done. After the bar top build was complete, I wanted to take a look at other solutions that could be used when building your home arcade machine. So I went out and picked up a Pandora box. It was the DX Special. Got that sent over to me and hooked that up in the same way that I had the Raspberry Pi initially. So it was hooked in through the gaming deck, but however, it didn't really like that, which I found strange. It just didn't recognize any of the controls. So I hooked it in with just it was an Xbox controller, one of the wired ones, and was able to get things done there. Now the emulation isn't great on it. There's issues with the aspect ratio, so I did sort of install Pandora onto there, which does make things a hell of a lot better from the stock. It really does fix the aspect ratios and things like that. However, I understand that the Pandora box is like a plug and play solution, and if you were building something fast, then this is definitely a good option, because you don't have to mess around with settings config as I did with the RetroPie, although I found it quite restrictive. Because of that, I think that RetroPie allowed me a lot more freedom to do what I wanted to do, whereas the Pandora box was just, here it is, and that's it. So I never really did much else with it. I've tested it, I've played with it, it's decent enough. Some games have, like I say, poor emulation, real bad slowdown and things like that, and really shouldn't have been put onto the box, because it just does not run well. And yeah, it's sort of just sat behind me because I don't have anything to put it into. I don't have anything to do with it. At some stage, if I want to retire one of these machines, I might consider putting the Pandora box into it, but for now it's just sort of sitting and not doing much. I then moved on from there and picked up another Raspberry Pi. This was all before the Raspberry Pi shot up in price. I think I was picking them up for about 40 quid at the time, which was really good, and I think now you're looking at for the 4B, you're looking at close to 90, which is a bit insane. So on the second one, I decided to go a different route and went with Batocera, so another kind of operating system or base layer for the retro gamings, and I installed the same sort of ROM base that I had with RetroPie, and yeah, did the exact same thing. Batocera, I'm still trying to get a hang on. RetroPie was dead easy to swap out emulators and cores and things like that. Batocera, I'm positive you can do the same thing, but I just can't figure it out completely. Most games were running really well, and I love the little bezels that it puts in. The Commodore 64 games are just running beautifully. It didn't have to do anything additional to that, which is a contrast to RetroPie, where I had to install different cores and experimental ones and things like that to get them working. Batocera just runs really well. The transitions are smooth. I like the menu system a lot better than RetroPie. The ability to search is a great bonus. So it's now sitting. It's now connected to that TV behind me. It's again hooked in through the Gamer Pro deck, and it works really well. I'm now using that primarily for capturing arcade footage when I want to get it onto the main PC for video editing and what have I. So that's probably where that's going to stay for now, because I do want something that I'm able to capture from, and Batocera runs, like I say, really smoothly, and I'm very happy with how that is. And then we get on to one of the most ambitious things I decided to take on this year, and that was our sit-down driving cabinet. So that started off as like a flight of fancy. If I could get a steering wheel to work with the RetroPie build, could I then build on that and possibly build a cabinet out of it? Now, I think my initial thought was I was going to put an arm onto the bar top so that a steering wheel could come out and lock in place, and then you would have your pedals underneath. And then the idea started to grow, I guess, and then I wanted to build a proper sit down. I thought the sit down when you're racing was just a better feel to it. So off I went again, bought myself a third Raspberry Pi. Pretty much did the same image that I have now for my RetroPie, put that onto this new one, and then started looking for bits and pieces. So I picked up one of Numbskull's driving wheels, hooked that in just to make sure that it was going to work, sort of like a proof of concept. All worked really well. I was dead happy with how it worked. There is a fair bit of config per game in order to get them working, but the concept worked. Therefore, I was ready to take it a step further. So I started to look at acquiring bits and pieces that I was able to build out of, and I got very lucky. My brother-in-law, he was able to source me a couple of pallets. They were pretty decent nick, so that formed the base of my what was going to be the driving cabinet, so it would raise it up slightly. We then did find an old chair that came from I think it was an old transit van or something along those lines. So that was going to be the chair. It actually sits on two big runners, so it worked really well for us. The screen that I was going to use was I was always going to source an old screen, but in my impatience I decided to use the one that sort of sat on the wall, the bigger one that sort of sat there. Whatever happened when I was mounting the bracket, I pierced the screen, and that was the end of that. It was then kaput. Luckily I was able to find an R screen on Gumtree, I think it was. Picked that up, so that's the one that's sort of now here. You can sort of see it's the back of it. So I've got that mounted, built it all up, and she works really well. I'm so happy with how that turned out. I honestly thought that was going to take me months and months to get going, and it all came together really well. It's a great addition to the arcade. People do gravitate towards it simply because it's a racer, and I have games on there like Outrun, Daytona, what else is there? Oh flip, there's like Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi worked really well, especially with the gear shift. The 18-wheel trucker. There are some fantastic games all working on there. The only ones I haven't been able to get working that I'm still sort of fighting with is Ridge Racer, and I know that takes like a System 2, which it just doesn't seem to want to emulate well on a Raspberry Pi. I guess the Pi's just not powerful enough to be able to run something like that, but she works really well. I'm very happy with how it turned out, and like I said, I've always wanted to add different types of machines to the arcade. So now we've got your various stand-ups. You've got the classic machine in the form of Pac-Man, you've got the 4-player in the form of Turtles, you've got a fighter in the form of Mortal Kombat, and now we have a racer. So all that we're really looking for now is like maybe a flight game or a shooter. So always wanting to add more variety to the arcade to allow people to sort of pick what they want when they come in. I will say there's probably a little bit of work still to do around the racer. I keep adding new games to the list, but with each game you have to then sit and go through the config, which takes about 10 minutes maybe just to do for each one. And yeah, the first time I did it, I wasn't saving the remap file. Found that out when my son wanted to sit down and play, and he stuck on Outrun. Comes up 3, 2, 1, go, and he hit the pedal, and nothing happened, and I was raging. So yeah, I had to sit down and redo everything, which was another lesson learned and a kick in the balls. So now we're pretty much over halfway through the year, and again, no official pickups or anything like that. They've all been custom builds, which I was very happy with. That was the way I was sort of leaning towards with the price rise and things like that. Nothing was really grabbing my eye. The controversy with the monitors that have been put into the new Legacy cabs were really heating up. So I was kind of glad that I steered clear of it. I would have still liked to have picked up one of the Mortal Kombat machines, but I think the screens and things like that have really kept me away from that. And then they came out with a couple of big announcements that people were sort of waiting on and hoping for. One of them being NFL Blitz. Now, that was a game I've never played before, but I was very excited to see how they were going to implement that, because they've got the 42-way joystick on there, which was a fantastic addition. And then there was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now, that was a game that I'd always said if it ever came out, I would pick it up. However, it came out and it was 700 quid, and it broke me. There was no way I could pick it up for that. Absolutely not. And I was really, really disappointed in that. But then one of the retailers over in the UK had it out, and I had, I think it was either a 10% or a 15% voucher with them, and I jumped at it. Yes, I know it was going to be like the big one, but I hadn't picked up anything all year. And I thought this was going to be my pickup. If I was only going to get one in the year, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was going to be it. And I love that machine. It's fantastic. I've played it probably more than nearly everything, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. My only disappointing note on that is that there is still no online for the marquee game. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is not online. The original Marvel vs. Capcom, yes, that's online. It always has been since they released the one in North America a couple of years back. But as of filming this, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is not online, and you can't play it online. It still just says the lobbies will be open soon, but we've had no word from Arcade1Up or anyone associated with them as to where Marvel vs. Capcom 2's online is. They have fixed the issue with Blitz. Blitz has now got an online, although they're calling it a beta, but they have online. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 has been left again with no word from anyone. We've had new cabinets and everything else now announced, and they've just left. People aren't going to forget. It is the biggest problem I have with that cabinet, that the online functionality is not there, and it was advertised and promised and all the rest of it. So where is it? But that's beside the point. I really do love the cabinet. It's a game that I have a lot of nostalgia for, and it does get played quite a lot. My son loves it. Mates would come around, they would play it as well, and so it's a cabinet it's right next to me as well, so it's always sort of just looming here. It's a fantastic pickup. I'm very, very happy with it. And then we come to the final pickup of the year, which is one I was not expecting to get, and it happened simply because I was doing a fair bit of coverage around sales closer to the Christmas period, and one of the big things was that we don't really get the same kind of sales that the Americans do, and it was a bit of a bummer, because you could see cabinets in America dropping $100, $200, that kind of thing, whereas we weren't getting anything like that. And then all of a sudden it started. Quirky had a pretty decent sale, and then Game had a pretty decent sale. Then Smith started. Then Game slashed their prices again, and I was going to pick up one of the pinball tables because it became quite affordable. So I went to try and buy the Marvel table because I love the look of that. Then found out that Game don't ship over here. Great. of course, why not? So I was very disappointed about that, thought that was going to be the end of it. And then Smiths slashed the price of the Star Wars pinball again. So it was now even lower than what game was offering. So at that point it was pretty much, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was one of those ones that I didn't like the Star Wars artwork. However, for that price, I'm never going to get that again. So I went and picked it up, and she sits now beside me with the bad artwork pushed up against the side, so I don't have to look at it. But yeah, I now have a pinball table in the arcade, and it is the machine that gets the most playtime at the moment. I absolutely adore just being able to flick the switch, select the table, and sit there for 10-15 minutes just playing a game of pinball. It's something that I've really come to enjoy and wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do. Now, I always said that I was never going to keep the table stock. If I got it, I was always going to install the soft mod, simply because it adds 20 additional official tables onto the machine to run natively. So that is the 10 tables that you would have got with the Star Wars table, the 10 that you would have got with Marvel, and the 10 you would have got with Attack from Mars. So 30 tables onto there, plus the addition that you have with Zen Pinball and Pinball Arcade. Now I can add more tables onto there if I wish. However, I wasn't at the moment. I'm not going to go down that route. I'm quite happy with just having the 30 on there. I have a lot of fun with that, so I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. And so that leads us to the end of the year. That's been me for the past 12 months. We've got a couple of homebrew solutions, you know, the DIY builds, which have turned out very, very well. Great additions to the arcade. A couple of official pickups as well, Marvel vs. Capcom and our pinball table. Again, brilliant additions to the arcade. Overall, I'm very happy with how the arcade's grown over the last sort of couple of years since we've started this. Didn't think we would get to something of this size. As I mentioned in a couple of other videos, I'm sort of at capacity now, so it will be, you know, either a big rework to fit more stuff in, or I'm going to have to start selling some of the older ones. Now, is there anything on my radar that I'm hoping to pick up in the new year? Yes, certainly. There's the re-release of the Star Wars cabinet, which we should be hearing some news about in the coming weeks. I really do want to get my hands on that. And then there's the deluxe cabinets. Now, we don't know the prices of those, but if they come out for the right price, they could be on the radar as well, or at least added to a short list for, you know, sales, maybe something along those lines. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. Hopefully you'll stay with us for the year, and we'll see what more we can do in here. But anyway, thank you again, and I will see you very soon. Stay safe out there and take her easy. Bye for now.